Welcome to Interactive Advocacy, where we believe in the transformative power of art and creative expression.
Hello guys, today is another edition of aleph, and I'm doing something very nice and interesting today as usual in the city of Durban. And I've bringing to you this inspiring story, and I just want you to sit down, listen to the story to the end. Don't stop, please. It's for someone out there, I'm sure you will be blessed. Yeah. So I'd like you to introduce yourself to the house. Tell us about yourself or what you do.
Yes. So my name is Dr. Tanya O. Jones, and what do I do? Oh, goodness gracious. You know, I laugh and I joke and I tell people I'm just me. I'm just Tanya, right?
True.
But I am a creative. I'm an author. I'm an advocate. I'm a United States veteran. I'm a mom, and I'm a lover of cupcakes.
Oh, being very nice. Very nice. So how did this journey begin exactly? You know, people would like to know exactly.
Yes. So I'm also the CEO of Interactive Advocacy, professionally. That's what I do. And Interactive Advocacy is a violence prevention production company. And we work to dismantle the rates in which violence occurs. So we do that through our live staged immersive performances, as well as through film. And we pretty much travel all over the globe, telling our stories, and sharing our lived experiences, in hopes and in the effort to get people to create cultural shifts in the way that they see shifts.
Mama. Wow. So what fun is this whole thing? How did you get to this point?
Right. Oh, that's another heavy story. So I'm an individual, unfortunately, that experienced childhood trauma. At the time, I didn't know that it was trauma. I just knew that something bad was happening to me, and I didn't like it, but I didn't know what to do with it, right? You know, as a young person, as a child, and I'm talking about a person that's under the age of like 10. You know, if you experience childhood trauma, whether that's molestation or whether that's sexual assault or just any type of inappropriate behaviors, right? As a young person, you know, the weight of that is so heavy and you don't know what to do with it. You don't know who to talk to or even how to speak because of fear. And so for me, that's what that was. I was a young person that had experienced trauma, didn't know what to do with it. And it made me very isolated, right? But in the world of my isolation, it allowed me to create. And during that time, what I would do is I would write. I would write a story, or I would keep a journal. And it's funny, I was talking to my sister just a few months ago, and she said, you know, Tanya, as a kid, I always saw you writing. I had no idea what was going on in all of these books. I just thought it was your diary. And I knew as the little sister, if I touched it, you'd probably beat me up, is what she said, you know. But now I realize what you were creating. And I didn't know, even in my early adult years, I didn't know that that's what was happening. Okay. It was just my form of therapy. I didn't, therapy wasn't something that we discussed in home. And
so no one actually got to know us. You were going to.
No, I didn't talk to anyone. I just, my diary was my best friend. You know, I could trust my words and my experiences because they were mine. I couldn't believe what people were saying around me because I saw the lies, right? And I didn't trust people. And so I just wrote, I just wrote and wrote. And I could imagine myself victorious in those stories. And it was freeing for me. So that's literally what I use as a tool to help me heal. And I didn't know even back then that I was healing, that it was working towards healing. I just needed to put it in there. And for me, if I could just put it in there, then I could just dump it. And that would be the end of it. It was almost like me talking to you and sharing with you the stories, and in giving story a voice. And that's what it did. It allowed me to be in a space, and I would hide my diary so no one would ever find it. And that's what it was. So I just kept on writing and writing for years.
Looking back at what you've been through, do you think you would have needed someone to help you pass through that path? What's your answer?
I don't know. I spent a lot of time as a young person with my grandmother.
Okay.
My family is from Central America. And a lot of times when your family is from a different country, when you're young and they move to the United States and they're trying to, build a foundation, they send their children back home, so to speak. Okay. And the culture, right? And so my mom and dad sent me back to Panama. So even though I was actually born in the States, I spent so much time in Panama, up until kindergarten, pretty much. So I pretty much stayed there. And my grandmother was very, very loving. And at some point, she would have all the grandchildren, so to speak. And so as she was busy kind of raising us, and I would tell people, she always warned us about the black snakes in the trees. We would go and pick the mangoes, right? And she would always warn us about, don't go into the bush and don't do this and do that. But she never warned us about the people that was lurking around the corner, and the predators, the people that were railing, the people that they trusted to watch us. She never warned us about them. And I think a lot of it had to do with either she didn't see because she trusted those people, or she did see, but she didn't know how to say so. And so as much as I loved her and as much as I felt safe close to her, I didn't know how to tell her what was happening to me. And then as I got older, my family would talk about the difference that they noticed in my behavior, the difference that they noticed in how I treated other people, or the things that I would say, or that I was always fighting. But no one ever took the time to ask me, why was my behavior so different? See, children and adults are so different, right, in the way that we communicate, right? Adults, if there's something bothering me, I'm going to tell you I'm having a bad day. Young people, they don't know how to do that so much, right? They don't know how to tell you I'm having a bad day. Maybe some of these kids today are a little bit better. But back then, they didn't. And what they would do is they would show you in their behavior. A child comes in, slams the door, and goes marching up the steps. Mom and dad has a bad day as well, or they're busy. Like, what are you doing? Coming in here, slamming the doors and marching up the steps. And, you're yelling at the kid. But you didn't realize that on the way in, all of this stuff just happened to the child. Maybe someone stole their lunch money. Maybe someone beat them up. Maybe, a teacher said something inappropriate. Something happened. Sometimes we just have to pause and take a moment to just ask that person, are you okay? What's going on with you? And establish that trust, and be just a caring person, right? So I feel like they saw the signs, but no one took the time to ask what was going on. And so I don't know if what it would be if someone would have paused and asked me that. And I can only speak from lived experiences, and I know what happens and the impact of that trauma because they did, right? And what that was me being very involved, and I need and then maneuver. And in that vulnerabilities, I think it made me more a target for predators. People can see those individuals that have certain insecurities that are maybe in some areas they may be very interactive, but other areas where they're very secluded, and they're very isolated. And I was a very isolated person.
Yeah. Well, so how did you find yourself staying in the military?
Military. So, people come into the military for so many different reasons, right? People go into the military because it's a legacy. Mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, uncles, aunts were in the military, and they want to follow in that tradition. Then you have people that go into the military because they rally around the flag of the country, and they want to support the country that they live in, and they want to do their due diligence and be in the military. And then people do it for financial reasons. But then there's a group of people that also go into the military because for them it's an escape, right? It's an opportunity for offer them a better place to live, better experiences, money, school. But for me, the military was an escape from my pain. And so I ran away into the military. Now think about that for a second. No matter all of the glamour and glitz people think about the military, you get to travel and you get college tuition paid for and all of these things. At the end of the day, you're a warfighter, right? You're a warfighter. You're trained to go to combat, to train with assault rifles. Imagine a young 18-year-old woman that thinks that it is better to take up arms, to be taught to be a soldier, than it is to be in the safe environment, right, of her family. Think about the mindset that you have to have. So I escaped and I ran into the military because I thought that environment was going to be more safer than where I was. And so going into the military, I went into the military in pain. I went into the military bleeding from my trauma. And I wanted to escape and just disappear. And I thought that it would offer me the opportunity to just change my environment and to become an even stronger person. And in many ways it has. I absolutely love yes, I'd absolutely yes. I loved being in the military. I loved being a warfighter. I loved serving my country. But even bigger than that, I loved the camaraderie of my fellow soldiers, and all of the different doors that being a United States Army veteran has allowed me to have. So that has just been a beautiful experience. But again, not without its trauma. Not without its trauma. So my first experience with adult trauma was actually in the military. Yeah, my first duty station, I was actually sexually assaulted. Yeah. And back then, even though they had programs and told you, like, if something like this happened, you would go and would talk to somebody, it's fear. When you're a soldier, you're supposed to be tough. You're supposed to be strong. And so, it's one of those things where you got to just suck it up and drive on. And you don't tell, what happened. And back then, I had leaders that still believed that women didn't belong in the military. So if you are working with people that are like this, then you can't be seen as weak. You got to be seen as strong. So that's what I thought. I thought I would stay quiet, stay strong, but that is what actually started me on this journey of learning the regulations, wanting to help other people. I became the go-to person when someone had a problem. Go to Joan, she knows the regs. And that would start to slowly shift my military career. And I went from being in the dental world to doing transitioning more to compliance, regulatory guidelines, and working with programs, equal opportunity, sexual assault prevention, and some of the highest levels of our federal government, dealing with records and helping people in adjudications and stuff like that, and totally appreciated being able to help. And then, after a while, you realize I want to help, but I want to do it in a different way. I would sit and just kind of like how we are here, and I would share my story with individuals that would say to me, you've got to do something with this. There's more that you can do with your story in a different world, in a different capacity.
So that was formed this whole...
Yeah, so eventually I would retire from the federal government. And I started... So my total years of active duty and working for the federal government is 20 years. So, just a little shy of 21 years. So a long time. And you learn a lot as you go, over those 20 years. But eventually I realized that I thought I could do more for helping people, but I needed to do it without the seal or the umbrella of that office, right? I wanted to be able to do this kind of work to support, but in a different way. And so that's kind of where I tapped back into my writing and my stories. And so I knew I wanted it to be something that was engaging. I knew that I wanted to talk to people, but get them to see this stuff that we're doing when it comes to violence prevention, but a different way. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to write. And I started to write no words. And initially, as I was telling this story, I didn't want it to be of me yet. I just wanted to tell the story. But the only way that I could really lend my voice to it is if I wrote from my own lived experience. And so as I started to pull from there, I realized, wow, this is turning into my story. And it became easier. So the very first production, live stage performance of the play that we did was called No Words. No Words. No Words. And No Words is a story of a young woman who was sexually assaulted. And when it first was written, it was in the military. And the very first time I saw it performed on the stage, I thought, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to keep it together? Because as I'm watching it unfold, I'm knowing, even though we don't show everything, I'm remembering what exactly really happened in that time. But it was so therapeutic and so healing for me. The actors, and we call them edutators, did it with such grace and dignity. And it was just such a humbling experience. But it was also liberating at the same time, and then that was the first time that I'd really seen people stand in line to wait to talk to me, to tell me, thank you for sharing that, or thank you for sharing it that way, because it impacted me and I'm going through this right now. And you've given me the courage to now tell my story, to report, to come forward, to heal. And this has not just been women. It's been women, it's been men, it's been older people, younger people, officers, enlisted, and then just, people all over, just really being able to understand that, have more empathy in this story. And it's our largest performance to date. We've traveled all over the globe with it. We've presented for the United States Pentagon. So we're telling these stories our way, our voices. Many of the people that are in my organization have experienced their own form of personal trauma. So we're pulling from lived experiences as well as scripted. And we tell people, we're going to make you laugh, we're going to make you cry, but we're going to always do it in a safe space. And that's what we're doing. And people, as they're laughing and crying, they're also learning. They're learning how to create real cultural shifts in their environment. And that's what we want. We want a community of caring people.
Wow. So you're taking this to Africa, everywhere in the world?
That's the goal. The goal is to take our story all over the globe. And people ask me, Tanya, why violence prevention? Like, why do you want to do violence prevention work? You could do anything with all of your experience. Why that? And I said, simply put, because there's no society in which violence doesn't exist. True. Violence is everywhere. And no matter how you tell the story, the goal is to tell the story. And people have a certain level of connectedness in the arts. The arts are so freeing. They're so liberating. It's creative. And historically, our historians, our forefathers, our foremothers, with folklore and music and dance and art, have been able to tell stories. And they're the things that last. last the longest. The same thing even now today with film. You watch a movie and you can't wait to come home and tell your friends and your family about it, And so I want people to have that same level of connection when they hear our stories and when they see our performances or watch one of our PSAs or one of our film work. There's a certain level of connectedness that they're going to get, and they're going to retain that information. And now when they see something happening in real time, they'll now know how to respond to it.
Perfect. Yeah. No, guys, if this information is you guys out there, I want you to just meet with these people. I want you to talk out there, because someone might be going through this right now.
Yes.
And he or she needs to, kick this. So where's the meeting point for you? Can they meet?
You mean, how can they connect with me?
Yeah, your meeting point, the website.
Oh, yes. So you can find us at www.interactiveadvocacy.com. That's our website. And you can find us on all our social media platforms at Interactive Advocacy. I tell people we're trying to work on being Googleicious, so that if you Google us, you can find us. We're on YouTube. You can check out some of our PSAs. We don't just deal with trauma that women experience, but we also deal with trauma as a whole, whether it's male, female, or not, right, or individuals who don't necessarily adhere to any different specific gender. There's something there for everyone. We cover the areas that we champion for the loudest. And you normally see it in the colors of our logo. So we have teal for sexual assault, purple for domestic violence, yellow for suicide, and green for mental health. And the reason why I champion for those the loudest is because I'm a thriving survivor of all of them. You can't be a person that has experienced the level of trauma that I have, that could not have gone through some of those different things. And that's a part of the backstory that we didn't go into. But that's one of the reasons why we champion for those the loudest, because of my personal connections to them. But then there are other areas: diversity and inclusion, individuals with disabilities, gender inequality, human trafficking. Those are some of the other areas that we also have into. And we have subject matter experts that have been dealing with those areas for the better part of 20 years themselves. And then the goal for us is to be able to, just create a culture of caring people, right? To engage and offer positive impact, and ultimately to just glow, to glow. That's what I'm asking people to do, to glow.
So you guys, I'm sure you also give one-on-one consultations, right?
We do. So we do everything from keynote speaking to, we have clinicians that are part of our team as well. So we can do, whether it's consulting or counseling, coaching. Yeah, so you can reach us at any one of our social media platforms, or feel free to email me.
Perfect.
Yeah, feel free to email me at info@interactiveadvocacy.com. That's INFOINTERACTIVEADVOCACY. And I'm sure you'll share this.
Perfect. I'll drop the link below the video, guys. Yeah. So there's something I do to end my vlog with them speaking their language. Now she has hi to Nigeria, Ghana, the US. Okay, which one will you use?
Exactly. Well, I just appreciate being able to be so diverse, because again, trauma is everywhere, and having these connections are beautiful because representation matters, right? And I just want to be able to just touch everyone and share love with everyone. But I have a family from all over the diaspora, so I'm really excited about that.
So which language you do speak now? You have to speak a dialect to them. Common experience. In which one would that dialect you? But would you speak Nigerian and would you speak Gaya? Which word?
Well, I would just tell everybody, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming and joining me out here. And mucho gusto.
Oh, yeah. Come to the experience. Thank you very much, guys. Legit. Virtually, yeah.